coming to you from the mountains and the plains. The only conservative voices brave enough to push back. This is the Conservative Daily Podcast with Joe Altman.
That's what the Second Amendment was designed to do. If you're going to do something to nullify or take away my rights under the Constitution, come get it.
Max McGuire.
When you look at politicians on the left, they need to convince people that they are victims.
A resistance to the resistance.
And now your hosts, Joe Altman and Max McGuire.
And welcome back to another edition of the Conservative Daily Podcast. Happy Friday, everyone. This week seemed to just go right by. The end of our first week of 2-hour shows, a big deal. That went, I think it went pretty well this week, doing the 2-hour shows. Let me know in the comment section if you like the 2-hour shows. We're going to keep doing them. We might start adjusting the process for what we do in hour one, what we do in hour two. But I think that the first week of 2-hour shows went pretty well. So yeah, let me know what you thought about it. Today is one of my favorite kinds of episodes. And Joe won't be here. He's meeting with investors about the IPO stuff. So he won't be here today. And I'm sad that he won't be here today because this is one of my favorite kinds of episodes. This is the episode where we get to take a topic that I have deliberately stayed away from. The idea that anyone involved with Antifa, BLM, or any of those leftist movements was involved at the Capitol. We get to take an issue that I deliberately stayed away with because the fact-checkers had already applied fact checks to it. And we get to talk about it because the latest breaking developments in this issue prove that all of the fact-checkers were wrong. Yesterday, the first Antifa-related, I have to be very careful with how I describe him. We're going to show posts that are very clearly anti-fascists. Whether or not he is part of an Antifa group, I don't know. But, Mr. Producer, go ahead, put up my screen. The FBI director says that Antifa is not an organization, it's an ideology. So based on that, we're going to go ahead and call John Sullivan Antifa because he absolutely shares the same ideas as Antifa, whether or not he is part of their organization. I will, right out the gate, say that there are leftists trying to distance themselves from him by saying that they kicked him out because he was far right. That's damage control. He absolutely shares their ideology, and as we'll show, he has a record of this dating back all the way into last year of being an Antifa type. So everyone, make sure you hit that share button on Facebook. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and comment on YouTube. Make sure you give us a thumbs up. Make sure you comment. Hit that subscribe button, the bell for notifications. And if you're watching us on DLive, make sure that you give us a little bit of those sweet lemons. We really do enjoy it. And we're making sure that we're going to redistribute the lemons to all like-minded conservative shows on DLive as well. So make sure you check out DLive if you haven't. DLive is where we're going to be if Facebook and YouTube end up banning us. So if you haven't already, make sure you head over to the DLive page and follow us there. So let's dive right into this. And I apologize, this is going to be a little hard. I have a lot of cuts. I sent Mr. Producer 40 different images, 7 different videos, because we have to make sure we document everything because we are talking about something that has already been fact-checked. I want to put this up. This is a video, and I apologize for the audio. It was someone recording it with their phone. This is a video of this Antifa activist, John Sullivan, doing an appearance on CNN on Anderson Cooper, I believe immediately following the events of January 6th, presenting himself to be some kind of neutral observer. Let's go ahead and watch cut 1.
Two people who were there join us now, documentary filmmaker Jade Sacker and left-wing activist John Sullivan. John, you filmed this moment on your phone. Can you describe what happened?
Yeah, so basically all the protesters kind of stormed to get into the chamber. We tried to get into the main entrance right when you walk down the hallway, but that being said, nobody was able to get in because there's 2 guards refusing to move. People there were not really wanting to hurt the police, so they went down a different alleyway. They went to the left of the main entrance of the chambers, and then took a right down the hallway that entered into that glass window scene that you see. There were about 4 or 5 police officers spread at the forefront, and I remember just coming up and seeing one of them like crying, saying they want to go home to their kids, and like
One of the police
we
officers.
were just like, yeah, one of the police officers. It was kind of like a scene out of, even all he sees is like thousands of these protesters like kind of converge on them, yelling, saying, let us in here, we're not trying to hurt you. I ended up like talking to a few of them. I said, hey, we can like just make a path for you to get through. By no means am I there on the Trump side or the MAGA side, but I don't want to like see people get hurt unnecessarily, especially when like there should be a better way to go about it. So I allowed and told everybody to just let them through. They're willing to go peacefully and just put down their arms and walk through.
So how was this lady?
All right, we're going to cut it there. So I just wanted to show that, just to make sure everyone could understand that this guy, John Sullivan, used what he did on January 6th to try and make a name for himself as some kind of neutral observer. And as we're going to see when we get into the actual arrest warrant and the affidavit supporting the arrest warrant, everything he's presenting himself out to be in that CNN clip is not factual. And he was doing the rounds. He was doing the rounds on all the different media, all the different channels. Here is a local channel, I believe local. It might have been, I forget which local one it is, but he went on it and he admitted that he's a BLMer, not a Trump supporter. Let's go ahead and play cut 2.
Calling today's event a turning point in the country.
His name is John Sullivan. He's a civil rights activist. He says he aligns more with the Black Lives Matter movement, does not align with President Trump's form of politics. And while inside the United States Capitol today, he says at his estimate, there were at least 10,000 people in there at the peak.
And then there was a massive crowd of about, I would say, probably more than 50,000 people just at the Capitol base, like trying to get in.
It's being described from someone who got inside the U.S. Capitol as crazy.
At one point, a protester grabbed a riot shield and started slamming the riot shield against the cop, took that, threw it down the steps, and threw the officer down the steps as well.
Utah John Sullivan is the founder of Insurgents USA, a civil rights group. He says he was in D.C. to document Wednesday's protest and found himself behind the group that eventually made their way inside the Capitol, and he climbed in through a broken window.
They weren't really like trying to burn anything down. They weren't really trying to break anything. Their main motive was to make it into the chambers.
And in that process, one woman was shot and killed. John was standing right next to her when it happened.
And I remember looking into her eyes and just seeing the lifelessness and understanding that she was dead.
John says police were no match for the overwhelming amount of people inside.
Those protesters got angry and they busted through those officers really quickly. And yeah, you could really freely move around. You could go into any room and look out the window, so it's pretty surreal.
So he's going to stick in D.C. for the next couple days, he says, to see what unfolds before heading back.
All right, let's cut that. So he's doing the rounds, right? He's doing the rounds on the media, claiming that he is just there to document, that he's just there to be a neutral observer. That isn't true. That isn't true. He was not just in D.C. to document. He was in D.C. to lead a counter-protest, an anti-fascist movement against Donald Trump, and he tried to co-opt the Patriot rally, the Stop the Steal rally, co-opt it, and as we'll see from the affidavit for the arrest warrant, he was actually inciting people to storm the Capitol and to cause and to commit violence and break things. So before we do, Mr. Brewster, we're going to jump down the list. We're going to go to image 29. And I need to jump a little ahead and show you image 29, just so we can protect ourselves and make sure no one can insinuate that we are doxing this man. Because right there at the top, paragraph 16, the the federal affidavit for the arrest warrant states what name he goes by when he's on online forums. So paragraph 16, Sullivan also voluntarily provided 2 phone numbers and multiple social media accounts and identifiers to special agents, including a YouTube account username, Jaden X. So Jaden X is what, we can take that down now. Jaden X is what he goes by. When he's online, he goes by Jaden X. So any clips, any images, any screenshots that we show that has Jaden X in it, it is not an attempt to dox us. We are using publicly available information from an affidavit submitted in support of an arrest warrant for this individual for storming the Capitol. Just want to get that out of the way. It's not doxing. I've gone through and made sure that no one else's screen names or usernames appear, even in places like Discord where they use anonymous names and can't really be linked. I went ahead and I blacked out their names just so no one can say that we're doxing anyone, because I don't want that. Here, let's go through some of the pictures. Let's go through some of the pictures. Let's go ahead and, well, first let's build the case. Let's build the case. Image 1. Go to image 1. This is what PolitiFact said on January 7th. Left-wing activist John Sullivan incited the insurgents at the U.S. Capitol. They said that's mostly false. And anyone who made that claim on January 7th was hit with a fact check on Facebook, which is one of the reasons that we didn't. Let's go to image number 2. This is the PolitiFact explanation. They said John Sullivan is an activist from Utah, joined supporters of President Donald Trump who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. He said he was trying to document what happened. There was no evidence that Sullivan, quote, incited the insurgents alone amid a crowd of thousands. Video he uploaded online shows his perspective as he filmed. Sullivan denied any affiliation to broad Antifa coalition. Although he has posted related hashtags on his Twitter accounts, there remains no legitimate evidence that the mob at the Capitol was infiltrated or led by Antifa activists in disguise. Let's just make sure we get all the fact checkers out of the way. Put up my screen, Mr. Producer. Here is leadstories.com. Fact check, there is no evidence protesters were Antifa activists dressed up as Trump supporters in the Capitol. That's our good friend Alexis, who loves to fact check things she doesn't really know a lot about. Let's jump over to CNN. Fact checking, Republicans unsubstantiated claims that Antifa infiltrated the Capitol riot. So lots of different fact checkers. We go ahead and take that down. Lots of different fact checkers have all come out and said, if you make this claim, you're a liar. That not only is he not Antifa, but he was not infiltrating the Capitol. What we're going to do over the next 2 hours is we're going to prove why that is completely false. So put up image 4. This is his mugshot from yesterday. Anyone who signed up to watch the live stream before we went live saw this was the placeholder. That is John Sullivan's mugshot as he was arrested on this federal warrant yesterday. So just in case there's any doubt, this guy, yes, he was arrested. Let's go ahead and put up image number 5. This is where it gets really, really amusing. And I say that because the guy who posted this on Twitter, his Twitter handle is Amuse. Breaking, CNN's Jade Sacker penetrating the Capitol with a member of BLM Antifa cheering, "We did it," and then asking her conspirator if he was filming. He said he'd delete it. He lied. So we'll get to that in a second. He stormed it with a CNN, I don't know if she's an employer or contractor, but she's a photojournalist who often works with CNN. So let's go to image 6. This is, I believe, from Discord. Put up image 6. You can see Jaden X at the top. He says, LOL, this is going to be a war. And other people saying this is going to be a war. Sadly, some of us have seen this coming. This is a war. When's the last time 20,000 troops were stationed in D.C.? Exactly, never. So he's online ginning this up, saying it's going to be a war. And let's just show you who this person is. Put up image number 7. This is from back in September. Him posing for a picture, dressed up in a full kit, just looking like your average Antifa activist, armed, ready to go fight the mythical fascists. Let's go to image number 8. Here he is in October posting, sharing his go bag and how he is battle ready. Just in case anyone thought he's just going to DC to document. Just going to DC to document. Put up image number 9. Here's another picture from last year. Him with the little black power emoji, dressed up like an Antifa terrorist. Not my picture. Those are his pictures. And I guess it's possible someone else could have done a Jaden X username. That's entirely possible. So I'll make sure I add that we believe that this is his username because that's what he goes by everywhere online. It's entirely possible, I guess, someone else looks exactly like him, does the exact same thing, using the exact same username. I'll admit that. It's possible. Unlikely, but possible. Let's go to image 10. Here's Sullivan posting how he plans to co-opt the rally for violence. On December 28th, the protests will happen all over the nation at everyone's state capital. I bet in some of the more conservative states it will be stronger. Presentation, misspelling. So all of these are happening at your state capital. This is happening all over the nation, so it's about to get crazy. Utah's terrorist group plans to storm the Capitol on January 6th, and he's then posts concerned citizens of Utah. Yes, they are apparently a terrorist in his mind. Concerned citizens. Here's a nice one. Let's put up image 12. Here's Jaden X just before the new year talking about how he's going to be there. I'll be out for sure. F them. They can catch a bullet if they try some stuff. They can catch a bullet. Does that look like someone who's going to D.C. just to document? F them. They can catch a bullet if they start some stuff? I don't know. Put up image number 13. Here's right before the inauguration. So it's right before the Capitol protest. So we've shown a couple ones from last year of him getting all kitted up. Here is December 29th showing him getting ready with his AR-15, with his mags, with his LARPer gear. Civil War and Revolution, he says. And then he posts both. Interesting. We're going to do this for 2 hours. This is fun. Here's image 14. This is what completely blows up his claim that he was just there to document. Here he is posting on his Instagram, which has now been taken down. He didn't take down his Twitter account, but he took down his Instagram. Probably to stop people from seeing this. Because he told the FBI he was there just to document. And yet on Instagram, he was saying that it's time to kick these fascists out of D.C. January 6, 2021. Dump Trump for good. Location, Washington Monument. Time, 11 a.m. 70 likes. Trump is not our president. Dump him for good. So he claims he was there just to document. And yet on social media, he's advocating a counter-protest. So right there, you have an admission that not only did he lie to the FBI, and he's not even being charged with lying to the FBI. That's the crazy part. He's not being charged with lying to the FBI. And that's apparently a crime just reserved for conservatives. He can lie all day. They're just going to get him with being in the building unlawfully. But I love that image because the internet is forever. Anyone who ever says the internet is forever, it's true. The internet really is forever. Let's go to image 15. Jaden X posting on January 6th. Hey, sorry, signal here is being jammed. Counter intel. Posting a picture of him with the same kind of keffiyeh scarf. Keffiyeh Arabic, basically, for scarf. Wearing a Trump hat. So the media claimed it was a lie to say anyone who was Antifa affiliated was in D.C. wearing Trump gear. That it was just not true. Didn't happen. It was all organic Trumpers. And yet here we have this guy. I haven't even gotten to the indictment yet. I'm hoping that I can spend the hour doing his backstory, and then we'll spend the second hour doing the deep dive into the indictment. We have a lot of stuff to go through today. But that's literally a picture of him in D.C., in his hotel, saying he's going for counter intel, wearing a Trump hat, disguising himself as a Trump supporter, but then wearing that keffiyeh that you often see Antifa people wearing. What is the keffiyeh? The keffiyeh, it's basically a headscarf, Arabic headscarf, but the black and white keffiyeh. So red and white tend to be Gulf states. So you'll have like a lot of the Gulf states will wear white, right? Other states and other countries in the Middle East, you'll wear a red and white checkerboard pattern. The black and white tends to be reserved for people who, not always the case, sometimes it's different, but a lot of times you'll see people who are Palestinian affiliated. Like the black and white has kind of been co-opted by Palestinian protesters, terrorists, whatever you want to call them. Antifa often uses this to differentiate themselves in the crowd because conservatives, if they wear a keffiyeh, or what's the other word for shamag, they tend to wear the tan ones or the green ones that the army has actually issued overseas. So we can put that image up again, Mr. Producer, image 15. You can see he's wearing the black one. And I don't know this for sure, but I've studied enough of these things, presumably to make sure that he can be identified as Antifa by other people in the crowd. And we'll see. We saw lots of people wearing these. but they all seem to be following the same kind of playbook. So let's keep going. Put up image 16. So that last post was him on the ground, day of, talking about counter intel. Here's a post from the week prior, explaining his counter intel. Hence the counter intel. He says, we are going to counter protest that stuff, except he didn't say stuff. Another poster says, yeah, I want to do more to counter that, but my main focus right now is finishing high school. Just so you understand what kind of message board this idiot is in, he's talking about overthrowing the American government with people who aren't even out of high school yet. So he's like, yeah, I'm going to go counter protest this. And some guy's like, yeah, I really wish I could help, but I still have to pass calculus. Not making fun of calculus, not making fun of anyone who talks like that. I don't know why I made that voice. It felt good at the time. Let's go back to it. Jaden X then says, word, it just sucks because so much Trump supporters here in Utah, and no one cares about Black Lives Matter or countering these mother effers. Just because I was at the VP debate a few months ago, and there were hardly any BLM supporters there, and a bunch of Trump supporters. Everyone in this Facebook event there is a link to a Facebook group. You should go and join this group, as it is for Trump's cue to overthrow the American government. Interesting. So he's on this forum encouraging people to go to a page that he said is a group that's going to be there to cue the overthrow of the American government. Interesting. But no, he was just there as a journalist, right? He wasn't there to start anything. He was just there to document. Yeah, not true. Put up image 17. This is an old post that they put on this forum. It's teaching people how to make the wipes to wash their face after they get tear gassed. 1 gallon of warm water, 9 cups of white sugar, 2 tablespoons citric acid. Mix that up, and then you mix it with 21 fluid ounces of baby shampoo. I don't know if that's real. Don't do that. It could be, I don't know. But just to show you that he is actively participating in the discussions on how to not only protest, but continue rioting, because you only have to wipe tear gas out of your eyes once your protest has been deemed an unlawful assembly and they start lobbing tear gas canisters at him. But don't worry, Jaden X, the documentary filmmaker, knows how to get that stinging sensation out of your eye. So we're going to play a little bit. And before we get to the rest, we mentioned that he stormed with this woman, Jade Sacker, who works with CNN. I don't know her actual employment status. I believe that was her on the first clip, sitting next to him when they were on CNN. She's right there. I want to play this clip because this is footage that John Sullivan filmed from inside the Capitol building. Inside the Capitol building. This is what the FBI used to justify their arrest warrant. Just so you can see what he was doing in there, let's play cut 3.
I'll give you your hug now. We did it! You were right, we did it!
Dude, I was trying to tell you. I couldn't say much.
You were right!
You just have to wash my child. Is this not going to be the best?
So that's a woman alleged to be, I have to say alleged to be. We've identified her without the mask on. But as long as someone has a mask on, I have to say alleged to be, because for all we know, it could be someone else under that mask. I hate wearing masks. You can never really tell who is who. Alleged to be Jade Sacker, congratulating him, saying, we did it. And he says something along the terms of, I know, right? I know, right? And then she, well, I don't want to put any words in their mouth. Miss Brewster, start that clip from the beginning. Make sure the volume's all the way up. And let's play that again so you can hear her congratulating him on what they just did. Let's play cut number 3.
I'll give you your hug now. We did it! You were right, we did it!
Dude, I was trying to tell you. I couldn't say much.
You were right!
You just have to wash my child. Is this not going to be the best film you've ever made in your life?
That's it.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah?
Hell yeah.
Wait, you weren't recording, were you?
I'll delete that shit. But I didn't record you.
He didn't.
It's just
Pause it. So she's sitting there, on camera, breaking the law, saying, we did it. And then she realized, she said, oh, you're going to delete that, right? Yeah, I'll delete it. Nope. Internet is forever. Jade Sacker. No, he didn't delete it. We all still have it. Let's go back and keep playing from where we left off. Can we do that, Mr. Producer?
It's over.
Oh, it's over. Okay, it's over. So here's another clip, just in case that angle wasn't good enough. If you want to watch Jade Sacker, the woman alleged to be Jade Sacker, following John Sullivan around videotaping him, she was also caught on C-SPAN. Let's go ahead and play cut 4. There he is, right there. And she's... Oh, there he is. And then she's following right behind him. Right behind him. She waves to the camera, say, "Hi, Mom." So she knows enough that, oh, wow, this is really bad. I'm getting videotaped in here. You should probably delete this. This is really bad. But then C-SPAN gets her. C-SPAN gets her. So, I mean, she's there. Apparently, she's a CNN reporter. I've seen some people say that she's a photojournalist. She works with CNN. Obviously, she has a camera. But she was right there. And she thanked him for, I guess, tipping her off that this was about to go down. It sounds like the thank you that she's telling him, like, you were right. It seems like he tipped her off, because then he says to her, I couldn't really talk much. He didn't want to, like, spill the beans. So the question is, if this Antifa terrorist can tip off a CNN reporter, journalist, photojournalist, whatever she is, if this Antifa activist can tip off a CNN person that there's going to be a storming of the Capitol, how could Donald Trump have incited it from the other end of the National Mall? The questions no one's asking. The questions that would have been asked if there was actually an impeachment hearing in the House of Representatives. So while Donald Trump is speaking, we have evidence of an Antifa activist and a CNN person in the Capitol working together, laughing, saying, "We did it." But no, Donald Trump incited the riot. Don't you know that? If you say anything else, you're a bigot. You're an idiot. And any other ist or ism that they want to throw at you. Incredible. This guy's just the gift that keeps on giving. And here he is, just a couple days ago. Mr. Producer, put up image 19. We've been hearing about this Second Amendment armed protest. Put up image number 19. We've been hearing about this armed protest. The FBI saying, "Oh, we have evidence to believe that Trump supporters are going to lead armed protests in all 50 capitals on the 17th." Well, here's Jaden X on his Instagram promoting that. So is he just someone just sitting back and saying, "I just got new intel about the Trump insurrection. Second Amendment rally will be staged for Trump's coup attempt on January 17th, 2020. That's what he wrote. But we just covered on this, what I think was Discord, weeks prior, he's planning the first one. And he was advertising the counter protest. And he co-opted this protest and worked with a CNN person, whatever you want to call her, contractor, employee, to storm the Capitol, gets her on tape, gets him on tape. I mean, this is crazy. And as we'll see when we start going through the affidavit, he actually thought that the FBI wouldn't find this. Realize, I'm not the only one who has this. I spent a few hours over yesterday and today getting all this together. The FBI found all of this a lot faster than me. I mean, he didn't even go by a different username. He just went by Jaden X. So yeah, we're gonna find your seditious posts when you do that. So let's go through some of the other things that other people on this message board were saying about it. Let's go to image 20. This is a part where the people are admitting that the cops let them in. One guy says, "A black cop is on video stating to the side saying, 'We disagree with your choice but respect your decision,' and just lets them inside, LOL. Another person says, "That was the mantra of the entire coup." Jaden X says, "Who?" So a black part was part of their coup? Another person says, "They let us all inside." Another person, "I'm confused. You said black people don't support Trump, LOL, but black cops do?" And then a bot repeats the question. So they're talking about how the cops let them in. These are Antifa people on an Antifa message board. Remember, he's thinking he's this big-time Antifa activist. Antifa people hate him, and he's talking to high schoolers. He's openly providing evidence of seditious behavior, federal crimes, and he's doing it to try and get the praise and affection of people, as we just covered, who have not even graduated high school yet. I mean, out of all the hills to die on, being king of the high schoolers is probably not one I would want to climb. So that was image number 20. Let's go to image number 21. Other people on the site said, yeah, he ended up plotting this and stirred up some stuff on the 6th, and they included another rally that was U.S. against racism. And someone says, wait, so does that mean all the Trump supporters were right that Antifa was involved? So the Antifa people are saying about Jaden X that, yeah, he plotted this and stirred it up. And the other guy's like, wait a minute. Trump supporters are right? The Trump supporters saying that Antifa involved, they're right? You can't make this up. This is like a literal confession. Hit that share button on Facebook. Give us a like, comment on YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. Hit the share button. And on DLive, let me see a little bit of lemons. Even just one lemon. Let me see one lemon. Who's got one lemon for us? This is incredible. Absolutely incredible that he's just posting this online. And this is how we're able to make the claim that it wasn't just him. It wasn't just John Sullivan as the lone Antifa there. Because other people on this message board chime in and say they were there too, and then provide pictures with them circled. Let's go ahead and put up image number 22. One user says, I was in front line of the battle and know who was there personally. It was a large sum of anti-Trumpers. Oh, the guy said, wow, so maybe my dad is right. Again, the dad probably claiming that there was Antifa involved. And then this same guy responds, posting a picture. I'll put that back up, Mr. Producer. Putting that back up, and he circles himself. See that little red circle? He's so proud. I was an anti-Trumper, and there I was, right in the middle. I mean, how stupid can you get? They had the media protecting them, saying that there were no Antifa there. And they're online bragging about it, circling the picture, showing where they were, and literally outing this Jaden X guy. It's too funny. It's way too funny. Let's go to image number 23. This was taken on the January 3rd. Actually, a couple different days. So it's whoever's going to counter protest on the 6th, bring a weapon with you. That's what's up. Columbus is working for the arrest of killer cop Jason Meade killer, and we're countering the Trumpettes on January 6th. Hello, everyone. I've been going through and looking at the counter intel and some of the other info. You guys really have a good plan set and a good job on the spy bot. Yeah, it was just sitting in a box under the counter. About the storming of tax building, that supports you need to build in your area. I'm basically F because of where I am. Even if I got enough support, it wouldn't be enough. So they're actually talking about using that date to start stuff. Let's go to image number 24. This is where they talk about how they wore Trump gear. So one guy said, lots of people had no hats. I imagine he meant to say hats. And plenty of black folks were there. He didn't need the hat. They're complaining that Jaden X wore a Trump hat. They don't like it. They say he shouldn't have wore a Trump hat. And then the other person said, when you are a well-known organizer, you need to blend in. This beyond suspect, whatever, is sus. Other guy said, I had to wear a Trump hat and shirt. Yeah, putting on a Trump hat does not make him blend in. It makes him look like a well-known activist who was attempting to instigate Antifa violence narrative. Bad move. WTF, I'd burn the hat after. So they're mad that he went undercover. But they're again proving that, yeah, that was him. Wearing the hat. Going undercover. Crazy stuff. Crazy, crazy stuff. So we actually... This is where it gets even crazier. This John Sullivan type, this Antifa, he's also apparently like a really good speed skater, like ice skater. And he was in an Uber commercial where Uber basically put him forward as like the ideal driver. I kid you not. He wanted to get in the Olympics or whatever. He was a really good speed ice skater. Anyone who's ever watched the Winter Olympics, they skate in circles. They have the really long ice skates. They kind of pivot. I don't know a lot about it, but I enjoy watching it. Uber took the commercial off the internet because they realized, oh my goodness, this guy just got arrested for not only participating, but causing property damage and inciting more people to do the same. They took the commercial down. But what did I say earlier? The internet is forever. So we're going to play this Uber commercial, and it is not to advertise for Uber. It is not to in any way violate their copyright. This is a very historic moment in this country where Uber, the company, hired someone they didn't know at the time who was an Antifa activist, and they put him forward as the face of their company. So we're using this clip in good faith, talking about current events. Please don't ban me, bro. Let's go ahead and watch cut 5.
There's no other time in my life that I will be able to do this again. My dream is to be world champion. Every single day, 6 hours a day. I wouldn't be able to do that. It's just not possible. Uber allows me that flexibility to spend more time on the ice. I am John Sullivan. I'm a world-class speed skater, and I drive with Uber.
I'm John Sullivan. I'm an Antifa terrorist, and I drive with Uber. Now, to Uber's credit, they took it down because they didn't want to be associated with it. Who would? I mean, we've seen the same from other companies distancing themselves from anyone who participated. There was one lead singer of a rock band who got kicked out of the rock band just because he was at the rally. Not that he was at the violent part at the Capitol. He was just at the rally. We've seen people get fired just because they were in D.C. that day. So it makes sense that Uber would want to distance themselves from this guy. It's just incredible that how this guy was able to infiltrate not just Antifa, but to get that commercial. I just wanted to make sure you saw it because it says a lot about the left today, because I guarantee you if there was anyone who even rose to the level of being a right-leaning terrorist, they wouldn't get anywhere near an Uber audition. So I want to make sure that I put that up so you could all see it. It's funny stuff. It's funny stuff. This pissed me off when I saw it. We're going to get to the whole affidavit and the arrest warrant. We're going to get to all that. That's going to be in the second hour. But I have to play this. This is a clip of Don Lemon insinuating that Republicans can't distance themselves from who was actually at the Capitol. Really shameful stuff, especially given what Don Lemon, whatever you want to pronounce his name, given what he said this summer about how the rioters were nothing like the peaceful protesters. Here he's trying to do the opposite and saying that there is no divide. If you committed any violent act, you are the same as the people who were just there to listen to the president speak. Let's go ahead and play cut number 6.
Now what you hear is, well, you can't say that everybody who voted for Trump is like the people who went into the Capitol. Response.
You can't say that what? Everybody's like...
Everybody who voted for Trump is like them.
No, I just explained to you. If you are on that side, you need to think about the side you're on. I'm never on the side of the Klan. I am principal people, conservative or liberal, never on the Klan side. Principal people, conservative or liberal, never on the Nazi side. Principal people who are conservative or liberal, never on the side that treats their fellow Americans as less than, that says that your fellow Americans should not exist, that says your fellow Americans should be in a concentration camp, or that sides with slavery, or sides with any sort of bigotry.
Right, and if they say, I don't agree with those people, I just like Trump's policy.
Well, then get out of the crowd with him. Get out of the crowd.
I wasn't in the crowd. I just voted for Trump.
You're in the crowd who voted for Trump. If you voted for Trump, you voted for the person who the Klan supported. You voted for the person who Nazis support. You voted for the person who the alt-right supports. That's the crowd that you are in. You voted for the person who incited a crowd to go into the Capitol and potentially take the lives of lawmakers, took the lives of police officers, took the lives of innocent lives who were there on the Capitol that day. You voted on...
Bill Ayers, remember the guy who Barack Obama started his political career in Bill Ayers' living room. Bill Ayers was a terrorist. He was part of an organization called the Weather Underground. And the Weather Underground actually detonated a bomb at the United States Capitol. They detonated a bomb. I believe it was on the Senate side. They conducted bombing attacks all over the country, right? Targeting government buildings, banks. He is not being ostracized. He is verified on Twitter. And he helped Barack Obama get into office. So I don't see Don Lemon saying that, oh, if you voted for Barack Obama, that means you voted for someone who's also supported by someone who bombed the Capitol. No! This is a line of thinking they only reserve for conservatives. If you are a leftist terrorist, if you're an environmental terrorist, you have there's no criticism. You're forgiven. Hell, you might even get a pardon and end up being on the board that runs the financing for Black Lives Matter. Right? That's what happens if you're a leftist terrorist. But if you're a right-leaning protester, now, even if you weren't there, even if you didn't rush, you're also a terrorist. And even if there were Black Lives Matter Antifa people trying to incite it, you're still lumped in with them. It's just so disgusting. It's so disgusting. People asking where I got all the information from. A lot of it is floating around online. The FBI revealed, the federal government, U.S. Attorney's Office at that point, revealed John Sullivan's username, JadenX. So it's very easy to then go around and find all the things that he's posted on different social platforms. He's tried to delete some. He's left some up. So that's how I was able to get a lot of this stuff. But interesting stuff. And this is an interesting interesting day for Joe to miss, because I know Joe would have loved doing this deep dive. He would have had a lot to say about this. So we're going to keep forging forward, though. We're going to get into the indictment. I think I have enough about the indictment to take us through the end of this hour and to get into the second hour. But I'll also open up the phone lines. 888-441-1121. Let me know what you think about this. We'll take a few calls. Let me know what you think about this, because conservatives were branded as complete terrorists, white supremacists, fake news if you insinuating that anyone other than a Trump supporter was there. Fake news. Now we know that it is. Now we know that it's completely legitimate. People saying it looks like all conservatives on DLive have been demonetized. That's interesting. Interesting. We'll have to look into that. If anyone can find a news report, I'd love to hear that, because that is definitely news to me. 888-441-1121 if you want to join the show. So let's start this. Let's start it up. Ms. Producer, go ahead, put up my screen. This is the affidavit. Affidavit in support of criminal complaint and arrest warrant, signed by Matthew B. Folger, sworn duly and hereby deposed and state as follows. So this is United States versus John Earl Sullivan, and he is being charged with 3 specific violations. The first is 18 U.S.C. Section 231A3. That is civil disorder. 18 U.S.C. Section 1752, restricted building or grounds. 40 U.S.C. Section 5104C2, violent entry or disorderly conduct. I looked that up, and depending on how they actually charge him, because there's some word that he might have had a knife on him. He said in a video he had a knife on him. If he had a knife and he brought a violent weapon in, then the levels, the sentencing guidelines change a little bit. But we're talking about more than 15 years in prison for those. 15 years for those stuff. People on DLive saying that all the Q pushers got demonetized. We're not a Q pusher, so I guess we'll have to take that up with DLive. So we're going to take that down off the screen. We're going to start going through a lot of this. The real highlights. It's 18 pages long, I think. Yeah, 18 pages long. We're going to go through the highlights. Again, 888-441-1121 if anyone wants to call in and let us know what you think about all this. So let's put up image number 25. This is straight from the affidavit for the arrest warrant. After the crowd broke through the last barricade, and as Sullivan and the others approached the Capitol building, Sullivan can be heard in the video saying at various points, "There are so many people, let's go. This S word is ours. F yeah. We accomplished this stuff. We did this together. F yeah. We are all part of this history. Let's burn this stuff down." And he didn't say stuff for anyone listening to the audio version of the podcast. Later, Sullivan's video includes footage of individuals climbing a wall to reach the plaza just outside the Capitol building entrance, as seen in the screenshot below. As individuals are climbing the wall, Sullivan can be heard saying, "You guys are effing savage. Let's go." So that is what inciting a riot looks like. That is what inciting a riot looks like. Saying, let's go. People climbing the wall, you put out your hand and you help them climb up. That is what inciting a riot looks like. Not Donald Trump saying, go and peacefully protest. That's not inciting a riot. What this guy did, definitionally, saying, let's go, let's burn this down, that is inciting a riot. He isn't being charged with that, interestingly enough. Let's put up image number 26. Sullivan, I won't read that out, resident of Utah, based on publicly available information and information provided by Sullivan in an interview on January 7, 2021, described further below. Sullivan is the leader of an organization called Insurgents USA, same person we just saw in those video clips, through which he organizes protests. On July 13, 2020, Sullivan was charged with rioting and criminal mischief by the local law enforcement authorities in Provo, Utah, based on his activities around a June 30, 2020 protest in which a civilian was shot and injured. The case is still pending. Paragraph 12. The United States obtained a video of Sullivan posted on YouTube in which, while attending a protest in Washington, D.C., Sullivan can be seen telling a crowd over a microphone, "We about to burn this stuff down. We got to rip Trump out of office. Effing pull him out of that stuff. We ain't waiting until the next election. We about to go get that mother effer." Sullivan can then be heard leading a crowd in a chant of, "It's time for a revolution." Interesting. It's time for a revolution. I don't know. Does that sound like someone who is just there to document? I mean, obviously, these are other things. These are other protests that he was at. We're not talking about the January 6th stuff. But this person was arrested for rioting and criminal mischief in Utah. And he was then seen on another video saying that we got to rip Trump out of office, pull him out, and it's time for revolution. That is what inciting a riot looks like. That is what insurrection and sedition look like. Not the President of the United States standing up on stage and laying out evidence of voter fraud and then saying, go peacefully protest. No, what this guy did in those previous occasions, that is what insurrection actually looks like. Apparently, anyone who talks about politics on DLive has now been demonetized. That's a shame. That's a shame. We're going to have to... DLive might not be our home, but I mean, it's not about the lemons. I mean, the lemons are nice, but it's not really about the lemons. I guess we'll stick there, but we'll keep looking for a new platform. So that was image 26. Go to image 27. This is where a couple weeks ago, I got in an argument with Joe about whether or not you should ever talk to the police. Joe said, or ever say anything, right? I said, never talk to the police. Don't say anything. Never do anything that could possibly be used against you, because anything you say can and will be used against you. When they read you those rights, it's not can and may be used against you. They say it will be used against you. Nothing you say to a police officer can possibly be used to help you. That's a fact, right? The police are able to present evidence against you, but if you say something to police officers that would help your case, that's considered to be hearsay, and it's inadmissible. There's a great video on YouTube. Many of you have probably seen it. It's just called Don't Talk to the Police. I highly recommend that you watch it. So go ahead and put that image back up, Mr. Producer. On January 7, John Sullivan didn't listen to that advice at all. He talked to the Federal Bureau of Investigation and believed he could talk his way out of an obvious federal crime. On January 7, 2021, Sullivan participated in a voluntary interview with a Federal Bureau of Investigation special agent in Washington, D.C. Sullivan identified himself to the agent and provided identifying information such as his birth date, address, social media identifiers, and phone numbers. In the interview, Sullivan stated he was in D.C. to attend and film the Stop the Steal March on January 6, 2021. Sullivan claimed to be an activist and journalist that filmed protests and riots, but admitted that he did not have any press credentials. Sullivan also stated that he was at the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. When scores of individuals entered it, Sullivan stated he was wearing a ballistic vest and gas mask while there. He showed the interviewing agent the ballistic vest. He further stated that he entered the U.S. Capitol with others through a window that had been broken out. Sullivan stated he followed the crowd as the crowd pushed past U.S. Capitol Police and followed the crowd into the U.S. Capitol. So John Sullivan made a couple of big mistakes. One, he talked to the police. If you were there, don't talk to the police. If they are talking to you, it's not because they're going to give you a little bit more press time on CNN. They want to arrest you. And I hate giving Antifa advice. This is just advice, general advice. Don't talk to the cops. Nothing you say can be used to help you. Anything you say will be used against you. So he made a couple of mistakes there. He talked to them. He made a claim as to why he was there. He didn't have to tell them why he was there. He said he was there to attend and film the Stop the Steal March. There is evidence online, as we showed, that he was there to counter protest. That is not a press media purpose. That is a political purpose. Still constitutionally protected as long as he doesn't commit any acts of violence, but it's still a lie. Even if you lie about something that isn't a crime, when you lie to a federal officer, that's still a crime. Now, maybe the FBI just hasn't caught up with that logic. But you don't talk. Don't try and make a story, because anything that's a lie will be used against you. But I mean, technically, they only do it to conservatives, I guess. The next part. He said he was wearing a ballistic vest and a gas mask, and he showed the interviewing agent the ballistic vest. As we'll see in a little bit, that was a big no-no, because he's on screen, he's on video. You can't see his face. But because he showed the gas mask, because he showed the ballistic vest to that agent can then watch the security footage and say, that is the same vest, it is the same mask, that was him. So if he had not shown that ballistic vest and that gas mask to the agent, they probably wouldn't have had enough right now. They would have kept investigating, but it wouldn't have been so easy for them to get the arrest warrant. So I'm not saying this to give advice to Antifa. I'm just showing you how saying things that you think are going to exonerate you, you think there's nothing wrong with telling them this, can and will be used against you. So we're going to get into the rest of this. But before we do, we're going to take a real quick break and come back on the other side for the second hour and go the rest through this affidavit for the arrest warrant. Really, really juicy stuff. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this quick break.
Ronald Reagan famously said that our freedoms are never more than a generation away from extinction. Conservative Daily exists to make sure that never happens. With our community of 700,000 members, we fight every day to hold Congress's feet to the fire and stop them from surrendering our rights and freedoms. The fight to take this country back is not over. Please join our movement right now by going to conservative-daily.com and clicking the subscribe button to sign up for our free call to action newsletters. We have a chance to save this country, but only if we all work together. Again, this is conservative-daily.com, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button at the top. Ladies and gentlemen, the Conservative Daily Podcast is back. And now your host, Max McGuire.
So we're back with the second hour of the Conservative Daily Podcast. Going to keep going through this affidavit for the arrest warrant. I see that there is a troll on YouTube. Say the troll's name, and I'll be happy to ban them. It's hard to watch and to catch it with the chat going so fast. So just say the name, and I'll ban her. Also, we're going to be taking applications. Don't know how we're going to do it yet for, I guess, Facebook, YouTube, and DLive, whatever platform we're on, for moderators. So if you are on, if you watch the show a lot every day, not every day, but most times, we can make you a moderator so you can actually ban people on our behalf. Because a lot of times if I'm doing the show solo, I can't catch it as fast. So we'll be figuring out how we're going to do that. Don't send us any information yet, but when we do, I'll let you know, because we're going to try and get some. We're going to try and make the Troll Patrol actually be an official title. So just letting everyone know that is in the works. So we're going through all of these parts of the arrest warrant. And he's really making a big mistake by even talking to them, because he's literally admitting to crimes. He thinks that he is in the clear, but he's actually admitting to crimes. So when he says he walked into the U.S. Capitol, that is a federal crime. Doesn't matter that he followed the crowd. He admitted to it. He confessed to it. There's no like guilty with an excuse when it comes to you're being in an area of federal property that you're not allowed to be in, right? There's no excuse for storming the Capitol. It's a crime. I mean, I guess it could be an actual like revolution, but we're not going to get into that. We'll get banned if we start talking about that philosophy. So that was, I believe, image 27. Let's go ahead and put up image 28. This is what really makes my blood boil. Paragraph 15. Sullivan further stated that he had been present at the shooting of a woman within the U.S. Capitol by a U.S. Capitol police officer, and that he had filmed the incident. During the interview, Sullivan showed the interviewing agent the footage he had taken, which Sullivan stated he had uploaded to the internet. The footage showed the area immediately outside the Speaker's lobby within the U.S. Capitol. I know from public source information that the Speaker's lobby is the hallway from which one can enter directly into the chamber of the United States House of Representatives. The Speaker's lobby is set off from the rest of the Capitol building by doors with a glass window. The footage that Sullivan showed the interviewing agent included footage of individuals breaking out the glass from the window in the doors leading into the Speaker's lobby, then a gun being discharged by a U.S. Capitol police officer within the Speaker's lobby, a woman falling back into the crowd from a position climbing one of the broken windows with a gunshot wound. The woman was later identified.
For a free.
All right, don't go to commercial if I freeze up. Just go to the red screen. Don't go commercial. We don't want to do that. So he's there. He admits that he was in the Speaker's lobby. He admitted that a gun was discharged. He admitted that it was there. Admitting to a crime. Admitting to a crime. We're going to see in a little bit that it's actually a really big deal because what he said when he was there might have actually contributed to Ashley Babbitt's death. Really, really scary stuff. But he's not being charged with that. So we mentioned earlier that he let police see his gas mask and his vest. Ms. Producer, put up image number 30. This is straight from the affidavit for the arrest warrant of the same picture of the gas mask and then of the vest. And the officer signing the affidavit, the agent, says that he recognizes them from his apartment, and therefore I can identify this person as him, therefore we can prove he was in the Capitol. Again, more evidence that if you say something you think is innocuous, is no big deal, they will use it against you. Go ahead and put up image number 31, Mr. Producer. At the first moment the crowd breaks through, Sullivan can be heard saying, "They're going in." The video then follows the crowd as they move towards the Capitol building, where Sullivan captured additional scenes of individuals breaking through police barriers. After the crowd broke through the last barrier, and as Sullivan and the others approached the Capitol building, Sullivan can be heard in the video saying at various points, "There are so many people. Let's go. This stuff is ours. F yeah. We accomplished this stuff. We did this together. F yeah. We are all part of this history. Let's burn this stuff down." We said this earlier. Later, video includes footage of individuals climbing a wall, and then he's helping them over and saying, "You are effing savage." So we talked about that a little bit earlier. Let's put up image number 32. Here is showing the screen capture of him reaching out his arm there on the right side of that screen grab, helping someone over the wall. That is literally, he's an accessory to this at that point. He is an accessory to what is going on. An accessory, admitting to it. Put it back up. At one point, Sullivan can be heard telling one of the individuals climbing the wall to give Sullivan his hand, as individuals in the crowd are calling to help people up the wall. The video records Sullivan's entrance into the U.S. Capitol building through a broken window. So you can't say that you thought you were allowed to do it when you entered the building through a broken window. You can't say, "Oh, I thought the doors were open. I thought I was allowed in. I was just following people." He climbed in through a window. And again, not only did he videotape it, not only did he publish the video online, but he gave it to the federal agents, again, to use against him. Pretty incredible stuff. Pretty incredible stuff. So we mentioned that he wants to burn it down. Let's go ahead and put up image 33. A lot of the same stuff. Sullivan, once inside the Capitol building, roamed the building with other individuals who unlawfully entered. During one of his interactions with others, Sullivan can be heard saying in the video, "We got to get this stuff burned." At other times, as he's walking through the Capitol, Sullivan can be heard saying, among other things, "It's our house, mother effers, and we are getting this stuff." In addition, several times during the video, Sullivan encounters law enforcement officers who are trying to prevent further advancement through the building by those who entered unlawfully. In at least 2 encounters, Sullivan can be heard on the video arguing with officers, telling them to stand down so they do not get hurt. Among other things, Sullivan can be heard telling officers, "You are putting yourselves in harm's way. The people have spoken. There are too many people. You got to stand down. The people out there that tried to do that stuff, they got hurt. I saw it. I'm caring about you." At one point in the video, Sullivan enters an office within the U.S. Capitol, as seen in the screenshot below. Once inside the office, Sullivan approaches a window, also seen in the screenshot below, and states, "We did this stuff. We took this stuff," except he didn't say stuff. I'm censoring myself so we don't have to add an explicit tag to our audio podcast. Go to image 34. While at the window, a knocking noise is heard off screen. The camera then pans to show more of the window, and a broken pane can be seen that was not broken on Sullivan's approach to the window. Sullivan can then be heard saying, "I broke it. My bad. My apologies." Well, they already broke a window, so, I didn't know I hit it that hard. No one got that on camera. Sullivan then exits the office. So, he videotapes it. Presumably, he could say that it's not him, right? He could say it's not him. He could presumably say, well, they don't know what my voice sounds like, except they do, because the officer talked to him. The officer knows what his voice sounds like. So the officer can then say, yeah, I listened to it. This is what it sounds like. It's right. He was there. Again, not trying to give them any ideas, but do not say anything to cops, because nothing you say to cops could possibly make you more innocent if you're already innocent. I'm gonna try. We have a image of of Sullivan basically bragging that they're not going to be able to tell it's him. I'm gonna see if I can find it. I'll see if I can find it. There's just too much to go through. I skipped it on purpose to get to it at this point. Let me see if I can find it. Oh yeah, go to image 18. Image 18. This is how he explained it to his followers on this public forum. Could be me, could not be me. Just saying. And then the person says, but it's on your channel. And Jaden X says, no, LOL, you don't get what I'm saying. The voice. It could be me, could be my voice, could not be my voice. Just saying, except that's not the way the law works. When you talk to a police officer and they hear your voice, they can then say, under penalty of perjury, sign an affidavit to the court that they watched the video and it's the same voice that they heard when they interviewed you in your home. So it doesn't work like that. He can't just say, oh, they can't tell it's me. Yeah, they can, because you talk to the police because you're an idiot. Sorry. The theme of this is don't talk to the police. We support police, but don't talk to the police. So that was image 18. We kind of went out of order, but I skipped that one at the time specifically to make sure that we could get it. So we have him breaking the window. But they can't tell it's me because it's my voice, even though I just talked to them. Go to image 35. This is really frightening. At another point in the video, Sullivan joins a crowd trying to open doors to another part of the U.S. Capitol, which are guarded by law enforcement officers, as the screen in the screenshot below shows. Sullivan can be heard on video telling other individuals in the crowd there's officers at the door. Less than 2 minutes later, while officers are still at the doors, and as others yell to break the glass windows in them with various objects, Sullivan can be heard saying, hey guys, I have a knife, let me up. Sullivan does not, however, ever make it to the doors. Now, I don't know if that was the actual door where Ashley Babbitt got shot, but the fact that they have him on tape saying he has a knife, that's bad, because some of these crimes carry an extra 10 years if you enter with a deadly weapon. But he videotaped it, and he talked to police so they know what he sounds like. Let's put up image 36. Eventually, individuals in the crowd outside the doors announced that the officers are leaving and giving us the building. As the crowd begins to part so the officers can leave, Sullivan can be heard saying, haul that mother effer out of this B word. At another time in the video, Sullivan is walking down a hallway in the U.S. Capitol with a larger group of people. Sullivan pans to a closed door and can be heard saying, why don't we go in there? After someone hits against the door, Sullivan can be heard saying, that's what I'm saying, break that stuff. Further down the hall, Sullivan can be heard saying, it would be fire if someone had revolutionary music and stuff. So he's literally on camera ordering people, break that door. Why don't we go in there? Someone hits the door and said, that's what I'm saying, break it. And then he's asking around, who has revolutionary music to play? Who has revolutionary music to play? It would be great if we had some background music. This is the guy who wants to be king of the high schoolers on his Antifa chat room. Amazing stuff. This is the part that infuriates me and why he should be charged with accessory to murder. Put up image 37. As we said, he was there when Ashley Babbitt got shot. And this is what is found in the actual affidavit for the arrest warrant. In the video, once Sullivan reaches the speaker's lobby where victim 1 was eventually shot, Sullivan can be heard telling one of the law enforcement officers guarding the doors, as seen in the screenshot below, "We want you to go home. I'm recording and there are so many people. They're going to push their way up here. Bro, I've seen people out there get hurt. I don't want to see you get hurt." Eventually, the law enforcement officers begin to exit and individuals within the crowd move towards the doors. As this is happening, Sullivan can be heard yelling at the officers, "I want you to go home," and then yelling, "Go, go, get this stuff." Sullivan then films as others in the crowd try to break out the glass in the entryway door windows. Shortly thereafter, the video includes footage of victim 1, Ashley Babbitt, getting shot as she tries to enter through the window opening. So why is this a big deal? One of the charges is actually, let me see if I can make sure I get the right one. I don't want to get fact-checked on citing the wrong law. Let me put up my screen. Mr. Producer, go ahead and put up my screen now. So this is the law that he's first being charged with. 18 U.S.C. Section 231, civil disorders. Federal law applies on federal property. He's being charged with A3, which is whoever commits or attempts to commit any act to obstruct, impede, or interfere with any fireman or law enforcement officer lawfully engaged in the lawful performance of his official duties incident to and during the commission of a civil disorder, which in any way or decree obstructs, delays, or adversely affects commerce or the movement of any article or commodity in commerce or conduct or performance at any federally protected function, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 5 years or both. So when he told police officers to go home, that is when he committed this crime, because he attempted to obstruct, impede, or interfere with a law enforcement officer trying to carry out his duties at a federally protected function. So he literally gave them the evidence. He gave them the video, and they watched it and said, "Wow, this guy broke a law." But here's the thing. When he's up there, he's not speaking for conservatives. We've already gone through that. He is not actually a conservative. He's a leftist Antifa type trying to gin up conservatives. He tried to infiltrate. That's why he was wearing a Trump hat, as we showed at the beginning. Well, actually, just in case anyone missed it, do we still have that hat? We'll find it. He was wearing a Trump hat deliberately for counter intel. There it is, counter intel. He was not there for a peaceful function. He was there to pretend to be a conservative to try and gin people up. That's my opinion. So when you start making police officers fear for their lives, making them think that you're speaking for the mob, and that if they don't get out, they will be hurt, it is not hard to take what he said and to basically trace it to the federal officer who still has not been named. We still don't know why he fired that shot. But it is logical to say that that federal officer might have pulled the trigger because he watched this guy, John Sullivan, get all the other police officers to leave. That federal officer might have felt that he had no backup anymore, and the minute someone had just climbed over through the window, he felt his life was in danger. But the only reason he was put in that situation was because John Sullivan went up there and told them to leave. That's the argument. So you can trace it. It's not airtight, right? But you can absolutely trace John Sullivan's actions with Ashley Babbitt being shot, because he was the one who created a situation where there were no cops there in between Ashley Babbitt and that window. Really, really sad. Really, really depressing. Depressing. So is this Cleo? Let me just ask on YouTube in the comment section, is this Cleopatra the one who's the troll? Let me know. Let me know if she's the troll. If she is, I'll just ban her. But that clip just does it for me, because she wouldn't be shot. She wouldn't be shot, in my opinion, if he hadn't forced all the other officers to clear out. Because it was bang, bang. It was one after the other. You can draw a causal link from one to the other. Incredible. Incredible. So let's go through the actual charges. We'll read those. Go to image 38. Image number 38. This is the first charge, which we just mentioned. It makes it a crime to commit or attempt to commit any act to obstruct, impede, or interfere with any law enforcement officer. So we read that one. That's the first charge. Again, what did I say? It carries a prison sentence of not more than 5 years. So that's 5 right there. Let's go to image number 39. Makes it a crime to 18 U.S.C. section 1752A makes it a crime to 1, knowingly enter or remain in any restricted building or grounds without lawful authority to do so. 2, knowingly and with intent to impede or disrupt the orderly conduct of government business or official functions, engage in disorderly or disruptive conduct in or within such proximity to any restricted building or grounds. Yada, yada, yada. 3, knowingly and with the intent to impede or disrupt orderly conduct of government business or official functions, obstruct or impede ingress or egress to or from any restricted building or grounds. Or 3, knowingly engage in any act of physical violence against any person or property in any restricted building or grounds. So they can get him on a couple things. They can get him on when he broke the window. And he said, oops, I broke that. They can get him on that one. They can get him on the fact that he was standing in front of a door and the people on the other side of the door couldn't get out. They can get him on that, right? They could get him on the fact that he was in there, presumably, to impede the conduct of government business. They can get him on that one, and they can also get him on part 1, the fact that he remained in a restricted building or grounds without the lawful authority to do so. He checks off all 4. It's literally, it can be one of the 4, and he just checked off all 4. So that's the second one. I believe that this is the one that if he had a deadly weapon, then it might be up to 10 or 15 years. I don't remember. I was looking at it earlier. Let's go to image number 40. This is the third charge that he's facing, which is found in USC section 5104E2D. Makes it a crime for an individual or group of individuals to willfully and knowingly A, enter or remain on the floor of either the House of Congress or any cloakroom or lobby adjacent to the room, and then they say other parts of the building, unless authorized to do so pursuant to rules adopted or an authorization given by that House. B, enter or remain in the gallery of either House of Congress in violations of the rules governing admission to the gallery. C, with the intent to disrupt the orderly conduct of official business, enter or remain in any room in any of the Capitol buildings set aside or designated for use thereof. D, utter loud, threatening, or abusive language, or engage in disorderly or disruptive conduct in any place in the grounds or in any of the Capitol buildings, with the intent to impede, disrupt, or disturb. E, obstruct, impede, passage through or within the grounds of any Capitol buildings. F, engage in any act of physical violence of the ground or any of the Capitol buildings. G, parade, demonstrate, or picket in any of the Capitol buildings. So this is, he checks off a couple of these. But this is the same thing. So when people go into a hearing room and they stand up and they protest, this is what they tend to get slapped with. Most people don't actually go to trial. Like when you see Code Pink at these hearings when they protest, as long as they're not causing any violence, they usually get booked, they plead down, they're out. But this one does have teeth. You can go to jail for a while. So he's facing these 3 charges. By my count, whether or not he had that dangerous weapon on him, that would determine whether it is 15 plus years. But it's still a lot of years. Now, will he be charged? I don't know. We've seen a lot of examples of leftists not being charged when conservatives are. Like, remember 4 years ago, the riots at Trump's inauguration? I was there. I remember the smell of smoke. It hit my face when they burned all the garbage, all the trash cans. They actually committed riotous acts, the left, on Trump's inauguration day. They were I believe most of them were let go. They had the charges dropped in the interest of reconciliation or whatever their flawed logic was at the time. I'm wondering whether John Sullivan is going to actually be tried and they're going to throw the book at him, or if they're going to buy his act that he's just there to film it. But I'll say this. He makes a mention that he is a journalist. And the Constitution does not stipulate what is and is not a journalist. We've seen this for a while. And Mr. Producer, I'm going to ask you to do a little research right now on the side. Right now, see if you can pull up a clip. It is Dianne Feinstein complaining about the First Amendment. I'll see if I can find it myself, but saying that the First Amendment should be permitted. Dianne Feinstein, First Amendment. It was in a committee meeting, hearing. See if you can find it. If not, that's fine. I'll try and find it for tomorrow's podcast. Basically, in this clip, Dianne Feinstein wants to regulate the First Amendment to have some bloggers, some journalists be real journalists, and other people who are just lowly bloggers not be protected under the First Amendment, that for some reason you have to actually be licensed or permitted in order to engage in journalism. That's not the case. That might be the case in certain private events where you need to have press credentials and you need to be credentialed through the event. That might even be the case in D.C. I don't know their specific statutes, but under the federal Constitution and under federal law, there is no requirement that you actually have press credentials. There's no like governing body that hands out press credentials, right? I mean, you can be part of a press organization that gives them out, but it's not something that, it's not like a concealed carry permit where you apply and you get it. They claimed that he wasn't a legitimate journalist. Let's see if we can go back to the original one. Which one was it? I think it was, let's go back to image 27. Right in the middle of that second page, Mr. Brewster, go to image 27. Sullivan claimed to be an activist and a journalist that filmed protests and riots, but admitted that he did not have any press credentials. This infuriates me. Not that he isn't getting what he deserves, but it's not a requirement that you be credentialed press in order to engage in constitutionally protected journalism. It pisses me off that this is even there. But they're building the case. They're building the case. That's how, instead of doing what I did, show you all of the pre-planning he did and all the posing with his guns and stuff, they're making the case that he's not a real journalist by saying he isn't credentialed. I think that's dangerous. I think that's a really dangerous precedent to set. But I mean, that's obviously where they're going to go with it. Ms. Brewster, let me know if you ever find that that video of Dianne Feinstein. Let me just search Dianne Feinstein video blogging. Let's see if we can find it. It's from a while ago. It's from a real long time ago. I might have even, no, I think it was, I'm pretty sure it was Dianne Feinstein. I'll find it for tomorrow. But that concerns me. This whole thing concerns me. This, obviously, I'm not concerned that he is now going to be facing federal charges that are pretty steep. What's concerning is that there are still people out there making the claim that there were no Antifa types involved. I guarantee you that when we publish this, that we will get fact-checked. And we have to fight that. We're going to fight the hell out of this fact-check if we get fact-checked for this. Because that's why I went through such lengths to show you everything involved. All of his posts, everything. Just like we did for that guy Eric months ago. Not going to mention his last name. Went through posts and then presented our opinion on what those posts mean. It is in our opinion that John Sullivan is not a legitimate journalist. He was not there for a journalistic reason. He was there to incite something. He was there to participate in a counter-protest, which is very counterproductive. He prepared by dressing like a Trump supporter. He then got in with a CNN photojournalist, or whatever you want to call her. They celebrated that we did it. And then, as we just covered with the affidavit, he is heard on video not only inciting more violence and more property destruction, but interfering with policemen doing their job, and likely one of the contributing factors behind Ashley Babbitt being shot. Really sad. So Mr. Producer Josh says he thinks he found the video. So I didn't give him a lot to work with. Mr. Producer Josh, let's play as I believe this is Dianne Feinstein doubting whether bloggers should have First Amendment protections. Let's see if he found the right video. Let's go ahead and play that video, Josh.
Mr. Chairman, first of all, I'd like to thank
Senator
Durbin and his staff. You've been a good and loyal partner in this for 4 years now. And I'd like to thank Senator Schumer for being willing, and his people who are terrific, to sit down and see if we couldn't work this out. Let me explain why I think this amendment is needed. I've had long-standing concerns that the language in the bill as introduced would grant a special privilege to people who really aren't reporters at all, who have no professional qualifications whatsoever. The fundamental issue behind this amendment is, should this privilege apply to anyone, to a 17-year-old who drops out of high school, buys a website for $5, and starts a blog? Or should it apply to journalists, to reporters who have bona fide credentials? This bill is described as a reporter shield bill, so I believe it should be applied to real reporters. The attorney-client privilege applies to attorneys, not any non-legal advisor. The spousal privilege applies to spouses, not to boyfriends and girlfriends. As I described the last time this committee passed this legislation, this could have been interpreted to cover hate websites, like that of the neo-Nazi organization, the National Socialist Movement, or even Senate press secretaries. So I am very grateful that the Media Coalition and Senator Schumer worked cooperatively with Senator Durbin and me to make sure that the bill doesn't do that. So this amendment effectively sets up a test for establishing bona fide credentials that make one a legitimate journalist. The first part of our amendment, page 5, starts.
Excellent research, Josh. Right as you played it, some of the commenters found it too. Excellent research. I didn't give you a lot to go on, but you still found it. That was Dianne Feinstein years ago trying to introduce, the amendment didn't pass, introduced an amendment to claim that just because you start a blog and you're writing your political feelings doesn't make you a journalist. Well, that's a very dangerous thought. And it really shows what the Democrat Party stands for. And yeah, I'm sure Dianne Feinstein wouldn't consider us to be a journalist. I consider myself more to be a podcast host, opinion journalist. I mean, right now we're doing real journalism. So I'll put that hat on today. But she would absolutely not want us to have First Amendment protections, which is what's really scary. And we see that happening with Twitter, with Facebook, with everyone trying to take down anything that disagrees with them. That was born out of a lot of the same hatred that we saw from these early Democrat hearings. So again, we'll open up the phone line. Anyone wants to call in. We've been dealing with a lot of trolls on the phone lines today. I'm seeing a lot of curse words in the YouTube comment section. Yeah, Cleopatra, I'm just going to ban you. Sorry. Actually, I'm going to put you in timeout. You're in timeout, Cleopatra. 888-441-1121 if you want to call in. If you can get in past the trolls. Apparently, Miss Producer Josh is overwhelmed by troll calls. So hopefully we can get you through. If not, we'll definitely take calls tomorrow. Yeah, Mr. Producer Josh just messaged me saying that there's so many people calling from anonymous numbers, which is usually a good sign that they're trying to hide their true intentions. Actually, that's not true. There's legitimate reasons to have an anonymous number, but this one probably isn't it. Let's go ahead and let's look at Jaden X's Twitter account. Put up my screen, Mr. Producer. And again, not doxing him. We got this account from publicly available federal government affidavit for a arrest warrant. This is straight from his Twitter account. So let's scroll down a little bit, see what he's up to. He hasn't deleted his Twitter account yet. So he's talking about him. He retweeted a guy pleading guilty to providing support for ISIS about doxing. He posted video from outside the Capitol, right? And then this is what really pissed me off. So we saw that image earlier of him helping the Trump supporter, presumably the Trump supporter, climb up the wall. Let's put that image up again. Let's go to image 32. I believe image 32 is the right one. Yeah, so you can see right there on the top, he is helping someone climb up the wall. He is an accessory to whatever they want to classify that event at the Capitol. He's absolutely accessory. He helped that guy climb up the wall that he wasn't allowed to climb up. Let's take that video down. He then turns around and takes a picture to take down the video, the picture, Mr. Producer. He then, on his Twitter, Trump supporters scaled the wall at the United States Capitol. So he is an active participant in helping make it happen. And then he runs around, takes a picture. He probably didn't take it. He just took a picture to basically denigrate anyone who did it. But he was the guy who helped them climb over, or at least one person climb over. So, I mean, this is how phony this is. He thinks himself to be some kind of activist, but it's just so circular. He's helping facilitate the thing that he then uses to promote. I mean, the media does this all the time, right? The media does this all the time. They set up conservatives. They try and make conservatives out to be crazy, and then they use that to go after them. He's doing the same thing. I'm going to keep scrolling, see if let's go back to it, Mr. Producer. Let's keep looking at what he has to say. Oh, so here we go. Jaden X posting, January 17th, Trump supporters all over the nation plan acts of terrorism by storming all capitals and overthrowing our democracy. Find my comprehensive list of flyers. So let's look at his flyer, shall we? So he says this is the flyer. Looks like you made that yourself, John. He said, this is a flyer. Now that looks like you made it yourself. It looks like you made that one. Yeah, no, it looks like you made that one too. This looks like he took a couple classes. And he's including the one we covered the other day. That's straight out of a Black Lives Matter book. Yeah, no, this is he's so full of it. I mean, we just talked about how he propped up and he told people to go to these pages so that they could be used to launch the coup. And now he's doing it again on Twitter. And then you see the FBI come out and say, we have intelligence that there's going to be armed insurrection. It's idiots like this who are propping it up. Idiots like this who are propping it up. Oh, new video shows Anti-Fascist supporter and videographer Jaden X was already in security, ready to video when police let in the crowd. Yeah, interesting that he's up there before most people actually got in. Again, we can go ahead and take that down. The question of the hour is, how can Donald Trump have incited something when one of the first people up there was an Antifa guy? I don't think Donald Trump incited him. You can't have Donald Trump inciting a riot if it's pre-planned. Doesn't work that way. And I want to know about this CNN lady. What's her name? Jade Sacker. She's literally in there saying that we did it. We did it. Has CNN come out with a response? Let's see if CNN has said anything about Jade Sacker. Let's see. Jade Sacker. See if CNN has said anything. Oh, wait a minute. PolitiFact coming out with a new fact check. Oh, we gotta put up my screen. Just 2 days ago, Antifa provoked the shooting of Ashley Babbitt at the Capitol. No evidence that Antifa incited Ashley Babbitt shooting. I literally just showed it to you. Straight from the affidavit. The police officers left after this guy, John Sullivan, told them to flee for their lives. After they left, Ashley Babbitt took their place, started climbing through the window. She's shot. The officer who shot her probably could also hear John Sullivan shouting that police officers are going to get shot if they don't leave, or killed or hurt if they don't leave. So, but this is don't worry, PolitiFact coming in with a preemptive fact check that there's no evidence, even though there is plenty. And this is just one person. Well, actually two. You have the Jade Sacker and the other guy who in that comment section circled himself in the crowd. So we've got three. We've now, in this one show, identified three people who were there for nefarious purposes. Not Trump supporters. There to either instigate or to help contribute to what was going on. Three. In one 2-hour episode, we found three false flaggers. I mean, imagine if the full weight of the federal government actually tried to do the same. Because remember, the FBI last week came out with a big statement. There is no evidence of any Antifa involvement. So that's technically true. At the time, they had no evidence. But the fact checkers use that as, this is fact. It is irrevocable. This will be true forever. And that's how a lot of the fact checkers structure their fact checks. They try and take a lack of evidence as proof of a negative, which isn't necessarily true. It just isn't, they don't have the proof of the positive yet. And we see this all the time with lead stories. No evidence of Antifa involvement. Well, no, there is. This guy's now behind bars. Actually, he might have been bailed out. I don't know. I don't want to speak out of turn. You know, this is fun. Put up image 4. This is his mugshot. We showed it in the first hour. That looks like the face of someone who thought he was going to get away with it and then realized he made a horrible, horrible mistake. Again, taken yesterday as he was being booked in. No, there'll be more. I mean, now that there is one that we can definitively say there's at least one anti-fascist, whether or not he is involved with an Antifa group or not, he self-identified as anti-fascist and BLM. So there is at least one that we can now for sure put a name to. They can no longer simply fact check and say that suggesting there were any is false. But they'll try. I guarantee you will probably be fact checked for putting this out. I guarantee that's probably why we're now under 200 viewers on Facebook right now. Really sad that DLive has suspended the lemons just as I finally figured out what the lemons are all about. They suspended us from doing lemons. I don't get that. I hope it's temporary, because I know that they probably have some people who are. I know some people on DLive are getting banned for what they say. We're not really that provocative. Like we're going to DLive not because we want to say anything hateful or anything, but because we're not allowed to say very benign things on these other platforms without risking being banned. So it's very sad that we're being lumped in. I'll have to see if we can maybe get out of that. I fear that we won't. But if anyone has another suggestion for a stream platform that won't treat us like criminals, we are absolutely all ears. And maybe we'll start a gaming. It sounds like that they're going to be doing anything that is politics related. Maybe I'll play some video games and just talk about politics while I play video games. I don't know if that's a workaround. It's really sad, but
I think you found your format. Video games and politics.
Yeah, that's what everyone really wants, right? Our average demographic is like, I looked it up, it's between 30 and 65. I don't think starting to play Fortnite
No, they'll love
it's going to really do it for our
audience. Once you explain what it is, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, I don't know where I've been my whole life.
Yeah. People asking if Rumble has streaming. Rumble does not have streaming. There's rumors that Parler might have streaming if Parler ever comes up back online, but they don't have that yet. I've heard that Gab has streaming. Gab TV. I tried to sign up for it, but Gab's been so overloaded that basically their servers wouldn't let me sign in. I'll have to check that out. If we go with Gab TV, in order to keep DLive, we'd have to probably sign up for a service that lets us stream to a fourth place, because right now our software only lets us stream to 3. But that's definitely doable. So I'll have to check out Gab TV. Anyone else with advice, go ahead and post it in the comment section below. So the last 2 hours, I think we've covered a lot of ground, right? And we did it in a way that we can't be accused of doxing anyone. We can't be accused of sharing information that we shouldn't share. We can't be accused of making claims that are not supported by evidence, something the left loves to do. We did it the right way. In my opinion, this is how it should be done. Piece by piece. It's not exactly the fastest way, right? It's much easier just to make a 5-minute show. This guy's Antifa, he's bad, call it a day. I think we did this the right way. Let me know what you think about it. It's definitely a way that protects us legally, protects the show from being shut down for hate speech or anything like that, which is always a good thing. I was talking with Joe earlier today. We're probably going to do an election fraud related episode in the future. We're trying to figure out how we're going to word it, because Facebook and YouTube have very tight restrictions on what people can and cannot say. YouTube's even stricter. YouTube's the strictest. You can't even make a claim. You'll get taken down immediately. So for that episode, we probably won't stream on YouTube. So we'll make sure that we make that announcement in the text that will probably that day only be live on Facebook or DLive, but just keep an eye out for that. We're also working through and putting together an episode on education. Because as much as we want to keep talking about this, we have to talk about the other things plaguing the country too. So we'll probably do at least 1 hour talking a little bit about what we also talked about yesterday, which is education, how e-learning is terrible, how there's the indoctrination, all that. So that's going to be coming next week sometime. We're also working on getting a couple of guests. We have a couple of sponsors lining up, as long as they don't get scared away by my horrible hate speech or whatever. We have a couple of sponsors lining up, so stay tuned for that. Yes, we will have ads. I'll have to read ads. If you like the product, definitely check it out. It definitely will help the show if they can tie it back to the show. But you will probably have to hear ads in both of the hours. So just be prepared for that. It's how we're going to support the show and grow the show. It's a necessary part of getting as big as we are. We're back in the 50s, it looks like, for Apple Podcasts. They've been playing funny business with us. I mean, we have 3 times as many downloads on Apple Podcasts as we did the last time we were number 8, and yet now we're down to 50. So they're playing games with it. We're trying to figure it out. We should be much higher. But if you haven't already, make sure you head over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a good review. We are starting to get some trolls leaving us bad reviews. I don't really care about them particularly, but I'd like to bury them. So at least when I go there, it's not the first thing I see. So make sure you check that out. Well, I've gone through everything I had to get through today. Miss Producer, do we still have leftists clogging up our phone lines?
Actually, they've stopped, which is kind of scary, because the phone stopped ringing about 15 minutes altogether. So I can't explain that. Usually they are just pounding away at our phone lines with the anonymous numbers. And I've actually had a guest call screener today, and a few of the calls he got was just people filibustering the line. All they were doing was talking about the direction the show should go, how news media is off the wall, but yet none of them were making any points. So they're getting very, very smart about what to say to the call screeners. Now we're picking up on that, right? Because, my coaching to him and the things I was listening to, it's a nice attempt. I mean, I like to see that they're trying to use modern politics or even old politics in a filibuster fashion to try to make sure they tie me up. So we'll get through that one, because if you're on too long, I will just hang up on you, and you know who you are.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm here to do. So it's interesting.
Great job with it. Keep it up. I don't think you've let a troll through on the calls in a while, which is really good.
Well, I start to recognize the numbers, the names, and stuff like that. Doesn't mean that they don't get smarter. It just means I have to sit there and hammer them with questions, because if they can't get through me, they're certainly not going to survive you, right? I mean, that's the way I see it.
Yeah. Well, it's great.
The phone's ringing now. I'm hold on. Don't go anywhere.
All right. Well, answer it, and we'll see if we can. We're getting towards the end, but if it's a real caller, we can take them. People, Caddy in the YouTube comment section, responding to me saying that show won't be on YouTube. Max, that's not right. You all asked us to get off Facebook. I did, and you take YouTube away. We're not talking about taking YouTube away permanently. We're saying that for that one episode, if we want to cover that topic, doing so on YouTube as a platform would be a violation of their terms of service, and would get our complete page, our complete channel on YouTube taken away. So what we're looking at, we don't want to say that we're never going to talk about that issue ever again. So what we're looking at is having it that day not be broadcast on YouTube, be broadcast on one of the other two, Facebook or DLive, so that we can avoid getting a complete permaban on YouTube and not violate their terms of service. It's not abandoning YouTube. It's just saying in that one instance, on that one episode when we talk about that issue, which we're not even allowed to talk about, it won't be broadcast on YouTube most likely. Unless we can figure out a way to talk about it that won't result in a ban. But Joe sometimes can get fired up, and frankly, he should. It's a really important topic. We probably, just to make sure that we're safe, not do it on YouTube, even if it was completely scripted. So I'll check the messages, see if Mr. Producer, if the caller is legitimate. If we can, we'll put him through. If not, we'll probably end the show for today.
We do have a legitimate caller now. The phones blew up, so I'm going to give you.
We take a couple calls.
I'm going to give you Zach. 1 moment.
All right, we have Zach, long-time listener, long-time caller. Zach on the line. Just saw on Facebook. He said he got off his work call. Zach, how's it going?
Good. I'm sorry I missed the middle of it, but today was a super good episode, and it definitely ties in when you were saying Joe wants to do an education one. You have the research powers to be able to see what Twitch and Discord has actually done to the younger generation, because that was the thing that kind of ran through my mind as I was listening to the entire episode today. It's the younger generation. Amazon owns Twitch. I used to stream on Twitch at one point, and it has become a brainwashing platform that basically people can get into these little tiny holes of people and get influenced because everyone around them is saying that information, and it's a very dangerous tool that no one's really, parents aren't even aware of it. That's kind of the other aspect of it, is they don't know who their kids are talking to online. They're just their gaming buddies.
They think their kids.
Right?
They think their kids are just watching someone play Fortnite, and it turns out he's basically spewing his political propaganda or dogma on them. I was going to bring it up today. I didn't, because I couldn't get the video downloaded in time. While we keep Zach online, Ms. Bruiser, put my screen up. This was a TMZ report. Florida teacher was fired for telling students Capitol riot was the work of Antifa. So this was a substitute teacher who apparently out of nowhere just started telling the students that the Antifa was involved with the protests or the riot, whatever you want to call it. She got fired because apparently that was a lie. But as we just talked about today, it's not a lie. Whether or not it was majority Antifa or not, there were Antifa people involved. So she got fired for telling something that at the time was fact-checked as a lie, but now is known to be true. But she got fired because one of the students videotaped her and posted it online.
Yeah.
So they never do that.
The biggest difference between that that lady that called yesterday, Max, is a perfect double standard of that, because she's like, I didn't want to cause any waves or make my kid get attacked by the teacher, and I didn't want the teacher to get fired, but I just wanted the principal to know, like, blaming Trump for what happened at the Capitol is not okay in the classroom. And that lady wasn't fired. They did a little press release, and she still has her job. Like, what?
Yeah. It's it's crazy because you're exactly right. You can only be left. You cannot be right. If you say anything that is even remotely right-leaning, you get boycotted, banned. If you're a left-leaning teacher, you're able to talk all day, and no one even picks up their phone to videotape it. The only time it ever really comes out is now with this e-learning. The fact that the parents are listening to the BS on their kids' laptops, and they can actually hear. It's like most of the time, kids aren't videotaping their teachers when they say things bad about Trump or anything. But it's only when these teachers come forward and say, "Oh, there was Antifa involved," they get fired. I don't know if she has. Someone commented, I don't know if she has a lawsuit for that. I don't know. They probably can sue her whether she's factually correct or wrong. They can sue her for the fact that she was I think she was teaching like language arts. Yeah, she was language arts class, a middle school language arts class, talking about this. Probably shouldn't have been talking about that, but the fact that she did certainly shouldn't have been a fireable offense.
It is strange. I mean, the kids are the next generation, and everybody in chat is always like, what do we do? What do we do? How do we fix this? It's talking with your kids, man. You guys got parents can no longer, it's just like the old school Republicans where it's like, I don't want to talk to you about politics because I get heated, and then they start yelling and stuff. But people have to start having conversations with their kids about values and what they believe, because we're losing. I mean, tech is becoming the parents, because parents are becoming detached from their kids' lives.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, in fairness, it's so easy now to plop your kid down and say, okay, you're going to watch Sesame Street. We're going to stream it through whatever streaming service, and just go. Like tech has anyone who's a parent knows that tech has presented itself to be a very good partner, they claim, in helping get through this pandemic. But you can already see they're starting to inject it. When you put on Disney Plus, when I put on Disney Plus, if I want my son to watch Pocahontas, you cannot watch Pocahontas without first getting through a disclaimer from Disney saying that these are aged productions that do not accurately depict the Native American people. They're adding disclaimers to everything, right? So my son can't read, so he won't really get it. But lots of kids will. And they're already injecting this leftism into streamable content, into things like you mentioned with Twitch. People are going to be shocked when they look and realize just how much leftism is being injected into what their kids are doing in their free time.
And who's behind it, because Amazon owns Twitch.
Yeah.
I mean, they bought out Twitch like 3 or 4 years ago or some shit sorry. Can you believe
That's
that?
all right. I'll have Mr. Producer. I'll have him. I'll have him bleep you out, Mr. Producer. That happened.
Max,
at,
you
like,
were warned.
1:43.
Zach, you were warned. You were warned, Zach.
I'm sorry. Right at the very end. I'm so sorry.
Right at the end.
I swear like a sailor, so I have to try my best to not when I call.
Yeah. Well.
But it's crazy. So that was the one aspect that I wanted to kind of contribute for today. So
yeah. Well, I do appreciate the call, and don't worry, we'll make sure that we bleep that. But we are going to let you go before you start cursing anymore.
Sounds good. Have a good one, guys.
All right. Have a good one. That's a joke. We're not letting him off because he would curse. We're letting him off because we're at the end of our 2-hour show. Do we have any other callers, Mr. Producer?
No, none that I can give you.
Okay.
How's that?
Okay. So I feel fine with ending the show now. We've gone through a lot. I thought it would take longer than it did, but we did go rapid fire through a lot of the stuff. If you like the show, make sure you share it with people, because the mainstream media is going to do everything they can to try and discount what we just showed you. And everything I just showed you was accurate. Everything I just showed you was truthful. And the analysis that we provided was absolutely factual. So make sure you hit that share button if you haven't already on Facebook. Make sure you hit the share button on YouTube. Share it to people. And on DLive, make sure you follow us. Hopefully they give us back our lemons. Again, right as I figure out what lemons are all about, they demonetize us. Oh, it's my luck. That's my luck. Well, that's going to be it for this edition of the Conservative Daily Podcast. If you like the podcast, we go live Monday through Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern on Facebook, YouTube, and DLive. I don't think on Saturday I'm going to be able to go live on DLive. I think it's just going to have to be Facebook and YouTube because I can only go live from 2 places on my home PC. But we'll go live for 1 hour tomorrow. I still have to pick a topic. If you have a suggestion for what history topic we should talk about, leave a comment in the comment section and I'll read it. That's going to be tomorrow. So make sure you like and follow our Facebook page. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell for notifications on YouTube, and make sure you follow us on DLive as well. Also, make sure you check out our audio version of the podcast. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Podbean, all great places. Even if you watch us live, make sure that you subscribe on those places. That way you download. That way we can improve the numbers. Advertisers don't care about how many people watch us on Facebook or YouTube. They care about audio downloads because that's apparently the gold standard in the industry. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe over there. And if you have an iPhone, MacBook, iPad, make sure you leave us a good review on Apple Podcasts as well. We are on Rumble. Some of the videos for whatever reason aren't getting posted, but I'll make sure that today's goes up there on Rumble. Rumble.com/user/Conservative Daily. Once Parler comes up, we'll be back on at Conservative Daily over on Parler. If you like the show and you want to get text messages, alerts when we go live, because you don't trust Facebook or YouTube to give you the notification, you can text the word freedom to 89517 and you'll get that text alert. There's also a link to join our email newsletter. And if you haven't already, check us out on DLive, dlive.tv/Conservative Daily, all one word. Well, that's going to be it for this edition of the podcast. Again, my name is Max McGuire. Remember, everyone, that the fight to take back our country is not over, but the only way we win is if we all stand up and fight together.